Welcome, Carina.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you here today, Carina, and the pleasure is mine and everybody else who's going to be watching the channel. With me, I have Carina Francioso. I met Carina several years ago at a Halloween party. I think it was a Halloween party anyway, and I was fascinated by her her purpose, her way of making her living, and she paints water. And it's like, wow, it was so unusual for me that I was extremely intrigued, and I started following her on Instagram, and started checking her out on Facebook and the stuff that she did. So much so that recently my wife and I decided to buy a painting from her. The one that we wanted wasn't available, so we're waiting for her to be inspired by something new so that we can buy a painting that we connect with. And the reason I'm here to speak to you today is because what I find fascinating about what you've been doing is that in a space what most people would feel is frightening in some ways, to make a living painting works of art and waiting for other people to buy their works of art in order to make a living in their lives is actually quite frightening. So I'd like you to share a little bit about what is it that drove you or pulled you into this space, and why do you do it?
Well, Stephen, I feel like I really didn't have a choice, to be honest with you. Like, I've tried doing many other things with my life, and it was just kind of strange how my art was the one thing that kept pulling me back in. And I also come from a long line of artists on my mother's side. Like, my mom was a sculptor. My grandfather was a furniture designer, very, very artistic. Both of his parents, so my great grandparents, were both sculptors. My great aunt was a painter. So it obviously runs in the family on my mother's side really, really strongly. And also on my father's side, like, very musical background. So the arts were always a huge part of my upbringing. And so, yes, it seems scary to think of it that way, but I think when you're raised in a family that's maybe more artistic, it doesn't seem as daunting and as scary. And it's just about kind of getting over that whole societal belief system that that's a scary thing to do, right? And I think it just kind of happened for me that I started painting at a young age. It's what I studied years honors studio specialization program at university. And after school, I didn't think that I was going to become an artist, but slowly but surely, it just kind of developed that way and happened. So, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. And you as an artist, what I find fascinating is that what you're specialized in, painting water, like in my head, is just like so out of the box. Like it not doesn't even fit in the box. It doesn't
Why?
even fit in the room that fits in the box. It's just so.
I talk for you.
So what drew you towards this space of water?
Well, if you look at my past work, it was always, I mean, my art has always been a reflection of my life at the time. Like many artists, it is that way, right? If you look at my earlier work, it was very fashion inspired because, I've also been modeling since I was a very young girl. So it was influenced by that. But then the water happened when one summer I was at our family home in Italy, or nearby there in South Italy, Puglia. And I was photographing the sea just one day at sunset. And I was mesmerized by the sun glistening over top of the water. And I think in that moment, I just knew that those photographs were going to inspire my next body of work. And so I did one painting of water then, and then one painting turned into two, and now it's a whole entire body of work that's unending, basically. And it was funny when that happened because then that it made so much sense that I would have stumbled upon water and that it would have found its way into my work, because I grew up boating with my family on water ever since I was a baby. So I was literally born on a boat, and then spent my summers up on Georgian Bay boating with the family. And then later on in life, I was living in Italy, visiting family in South Italy, right on the coast of the Ionian Sea. And so looking back, like I see how the dots really connected, and I'm like, it blows my mind too, thinking about it, because it really does make a lot of sense that I would paint water today, because it's been such a huge part of my upbringing in my life.
So it seems like there's a lot of coincidences or synchronicity going on for you.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it just feels right. Like it just feels really right and really authentic. And yeah, I think the best things in life are kind of synchronistic like that, or they just happen naturally, because you're listening to a voice inside that, is stronger than you.
You're listening to a voice inside that's stronger than you. Tell me a little more about that.
I think we get intuition. We have a sense of, knowing, whether it be, not to get on that plane because it might crash. Like how many times have you heard those stories? Or whether it be, I'm going to take this course because this feels in alignment with who I am, and then it ends up taking you into a career that you love, right? I think that everything is kind of, our life is about decisions, and if you can make decisions from that place of like really knowing yourself and really listening, I think that that can be a very powerful.
And did you ever doubt yourself in that process of
Becoming an artist?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure, I doubted myself. Every time I doubted myself, it was like the universe sent me another sign to remind me that this was what I was supposed to do, whether it be I sold a painting or made a really great contact in the field, or won an award. Like little things like that would always creep in to remind me, actually, this is where it's strange, but that's where the beauty is in life.
So you kept getting nudged back into this space of painting, space of art, with these little reminders, these little nudges, these little miracles that were taking place, that helped you reaffirm that this is something for you.
That's correct. Yeah.
When you logged in just before the call, or just at the beginning of the call, I asked you about how you feel coming back, because you just returned from Italy,
Yes.
right? And you mentioned that a few times that you go there, and you said something that really stood out for me was, while you really missed being back in the studio, because you want to be, or you want to be living your purpose.
Yes. I was saying, as much as I love traveling, because it is a huge part of my inspiration and where I get my inspiration for my paintings. So as much as I love traveling, I can only be away from the studio for so long, I think, because I miss working on my purpose. And I just mean that I miss being in the studio. I miss working on something that I feel is my gift to the world, and being able to constantly work on something like that. I'm sure the first step from doing these videos, you might get a sense of like, oh, like I'm missing out on my purpose. And that's how I feel sometimes when I'm away from the studio for too long, is I just want to get back to work.
And tell me a little bit about when you are working. What is like what's going on for you during that time? Because there's a few like Instagram little shorts there of you, painting stuff, and I saw, and it's fascinating, the technical side of painting onto black, or I can't remember what it was, but it was like, really, that's how she does it, right? And that some of your paintings are on metal and others are on wood and things like that. But when you're actually doing the work, what comes up for you? What is going on for you? What does it feel like?
Oh, it's like a meditation, 100%. Like when I'm painting, it feels like I'm lost. And it is like, I love what I do so much because I feel that I'm constantly learning, even in the studio, because I'm constantly listening to things. I'm listening to audiobooks, I'm listening to music, I'm listening to podcasts. So like the studio for me is also a really great place to learn, not just from my own experiments, through painting, but from all the things that I listen to. So there's that going on in the studio when I'm working, and just the meditative aspect of working, sitting down, and 5, 6, 7 hours pass by, and it feels like a few moments, right? Because I'm just so lost in what I'm doing and in what I'm creating, and I think that's like a really beautiful place to be. It's like the flow state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in this flow state where you don't feel tired at all. You're just fully energized, and
Yeah.
you feel like that's just what you're meant to do. Period.
Yeah, it feels like I'm sharing my gifts with the world in my own unique way, and I think that the world is a beautiful place when people do that. I think that we all have something to offer the world, and somebody might be really good at numbers and have a job where they work with a lot of numbers, and like that's their gift to the world. I just tend to be probably more right brained than most, right? So the artistic skills are there for me and I'm using them. Mhm.
And when you're talking about what you do, right?
Yes.
What do you say to people when
Well,
people
most
ask, well,
people.
what do you do for a living?
Yes, when most people ask me what I do, I just say I'm an artist, and then I get the typical questions, oh, well, what kind of art do you do? And I tell them, it's mainly called photorealism or contemporary realism. And I explain to them, if they're not familiar with those, I explain, when you go into a gallery or a museum and you see a picture on the wall and you say, oh my gosh, like that's such a cool picture. But then you get up close and you see it's paint, but it looks like a picture. Well, that's photorealism, that's contemporary realism. And I'll let them know that I'm focusing on seascapes and water, and kind of go down that road of what inspires me. And yeah, those are the typical kind of questions I get from people, and that's how I would respond.
And there was an interesting experiment that I was involved in recently. It was a health, or an organization which brought together people who had stories of death with artists.
Okay.
And in that situation, I was asked about my experience. My story was with my mom, and when she passed away from cancer, and we're in the hospital with her. And I shared a story of an unpleasant experience in that space.
Mm,
And the artist was creating a art piece around that.
mm,
And what I discovered was, for me, that going through that process of even sharing it with an artist,
mm.
it was therapeutic.
Oh, wow.
And looking at your paintings, I also find it's therapeutic. There's
Yes.
something deeper with your paintings than just water.
That's so crazy that you're saying that, Stephen, because I have some stories for you if you want to hear them. But
Absolutely.
okay, so see, this is another reason why I love doing what I do, because I think when you create from the heart and you create with a pure intention of really serving and giving your gift to the world, I think that's really felt on the other end. And I think in general, water is very therapeutic, and this is something that I've been studying in my work, as I continue on with these bodies of water, is learning more about the therapeutics of water. But also with that intention when I'm working, infusing that into my work, it is felt on the other end. And I'll tell you a story. There's been many instances, particularly there was a woman who had contacted me, um, who was stage 4 cancer, and she came across my work, and she mentioned to me right away, like, wow, as soon as I saw your painting, I felt healed by your work. I felt like like a peace come over me. Okay. And I've had many people tell me that, but I've also had very strange things happen, like people having dreams of my work. So there was this one of my clients who, she had a dream, okay, one night or early morning, she had a dream that she was standing in a museum and she saw her mother in her dream, who was in the museum with her, and they were looking at they were looking at Monet paintings on the wall. Okay. And next to one of Monet's paintings of water, there was another painting of water. And she said she was just drawn to it in her dream. She was just so drawn to it. She could feel like a healing energy coming from this painting. And so she approached the painting, and there were these water basins underneath the painting. And all she sees is her mom dipping her hands into the water and washing her face, like washing it over her as if she was healing herself in front of this painting. And then all of a sudden, she hears loud, loud words saying, sacred waters, sacred waters. And then she wakes up from the dream. So right away, she goes to her computer and she searches online sacred waters painting. Now, one of my paintings shows up that is called Sacred Waters. But the strange thing is, after when I had the conversation with her, she says, Carina, it wasn't that it was just called Sacred Waters. Your painting was the exact painting I saw on the wall in the museum in my dream. And she had never heard of me before, never seen my work before, none of that. She's like, I need to have this painting. And so she ended up purchasing the piece, and now it's in her lovely home in the United States. And, but like stories like that, I cannot tell you how many magical stories about my work and that kind of relate back to the therapeutics of water and the healing qualities of water, and just beautiful synchronicities. And when I have moments like that with my work, it really makes me believe, okay, I am 100% on my path, my right path. And that's what's important to me, is that my work is reaching people, not just, it's not a monetary thing for me. Like, I obviously want to make a living from my art, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to do that. But when there's this extra piece that is almost spiritual, that's what gets me really excited to be doing what I'm doing. So
that's wonderful. I mean, that truly, my eyes are tearing up a little bit, because it's when we do something from our hearts, mm-hmm. with the intention of just doing our best,
right,
then everything else shows up.
Yeah. And I love that you say that, just doing our best, because, that's, I think, one of the reasons that I paint with so much detail too, is because I know I have it in me. And so there was a point in my artistic pursuits where I was not painting with as much detail, and I just didn't feel as good about my work. And then all of a sudden, when I started with the water pieces again, I was like, oh, like this feels amazing to me, because I was putting so many hours into it. And it's not about the time it takes to create a piece of art. That doesn't define good art. I understand that. But it's about doing your best. It's about doing what you know you're capable of doing. And so for me, that involved detail. I loved seeing something come to life from nothing. And I love the time it takes to create something beautiful. And I think that in the world that we're living in, this instant gratification world where everything is just at your fingertips and everything is just like mass made and consumed, I want to be different. I want to create something that, you know, takes time. And I think there's value in that. And there might be few people that see the value in that in the world, but that's okay with me because it feels authentic to me. In, you know, that every piece of a painting is just as important as a whole. And that is something that, you know, spills over into the rest of my life, because I think about it in my relationships. I think about it in everything. That you know, you can't be sloppy with things. You really do have to look at the details and you know, build almost a strong foundation in everything that you do.
So doing your best, building from the ground up, building that foundation, regardless of what the result is.
Right.
And did you ever feel, or do you feel now that, oh good, am I going to make a living out of this, or have you passed that space now and it is a comfortable living, or that you're living, that you're doing fine?
Yeah, I think I've passed that space. I think I needed to get over that hurdle a few years ago where I had some major doubts about what I was doing, and some fears, you know, and then things just kind of took off, Stephen. And I trust now more than anything. And I think that's, you know, anybody who has a regular job where you're getting, you know, a paycheck every 2 weeks, well, you could lose that job tomorrow. So really, it just takes faith and trust in anything that you do. And that's kind of the way that I look at it.
And how were you able to get through that hurdle of just trusting more into it? Did something specific happen, or was it just an ongoing process?
Oh gosh, well, I think I just kept doing the work, you know, and I never gave up. And I was close to giving up.
Okay. But
literally, again, in that moment of being close to giving up, an opportunity came in, sold all my work. Literally, it's magical. But it's usually in those moments where you're about to give up, where the universe says, hey, like, is that really what you want to do? You know? And so that's kind of what happened with me. And I realized, no, that's not what I want to do. You know, I want to go full throttle into this. And so now I'm developing not only in the studio, but I'm also developing an online oil painting course. And that is something that I've been wanting to do for a while now, just because I get asked all the time from people all over the world that want to learn how to paint like I do. And so I just kind of took that as a sign, and I'm like, okay, get to work, Carina. And so that's what I've been working on the last little while, is basically an essentials to oil painting course. And then within that course, I'll have tutorials and lessons on painting seascapes, literally from start to finish. So that's just another way that I get to serve. And you know, I've always been, I think, a really great teacher. I've always taught in my life. You know, I used to teach Italian language in university, and then also taught yoga for many years. And I've always enjoyed teaching. So I think this will be just another great part of my career.
And so that's amazing that you're doing the course, and we'll put your link in the bottom of the at the end of the YouTube page there, so you'll see it. And we're gonna share some of the art that that Carina has done. What, you know, but as a for those who are watching, you know, what kind of advice would you give someone who's looking to do something that they're afraid of? They're changing their career, especially, you know, we're coming out of COVID. We're going into stage 4 or coming out of stage 3. I'm not sure.
Right.
And, and there's been a lot of changes for people in their lives. And, what advice would you give coming from your experience to these people who are looking to uproot their previous lives and take on something that they're passionate about?
Well, that is a scary thing to decide upon. And I think it really takes time to be good at something too. So my first advice would be, maybe not rush out of what you're doing right away and start this other thing. I would say try to do it at the same time. At least start, find a mentor while you're working at your other career, find a mentor that's done it before you and learn from them so that you have some ideas on the necessary steps that you need to take in order to succeed. I mean, people who are successful leave cues, right? So that would be my first suggestion, is to find somebody who is already there, already has what you want, and to have them mentor you, seek mentorship. I would say do a little bit every day. Like if you want to go in a different direction, then do just a little something every day that takes you one step closer to your goal. Yeah.
So make it a habit of doing that one thing that you're doing.
Right. Like I really honed in on that as I got older, in my late 20s, and I started taking my artistic career more seriously. It was like, nope, every day I'm working on this. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like wherever your energy goes, that's where, energy flows, right? So that's where the magic happens. So the more you concentrate on anything, the more the universe is going to say, okay, they're doing that. Well, let me help you out a little bit more. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the way I believe it to be. So,
and we talk about that in the Silva Method as well. And we talk about that, and, the law of attraction is.
Yes, that's huge for me. Like I'm all about visualization and mainly visualization. So visualizing already what you want, seeing it as it's done. It's already done in your mind's eye, right? I do a lot of that. Mm-hmm.
And do you do that through meditation, or do you do that just,
I meditate daily. Every day I meditate, and it's usually a visualization meditation.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Yes.
And how much time do you spend on that?
An hour a day.
An hour a day. All right.
I would say 40 minutes to an hour every day I meditate.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
It's necessary. Like for me, it's no longer like, oh, I might meditate today. No, I have to meditate daily because I feel like my life gets chaotic when I don't. I just I don't feel as centered. I don't feel as, it's going to sound funny, but like magical, like when I meditate, magical things happen. So like, I'll give you an example. Yeah, I was literally just saying to a friend of mine that I wanted to go see the exhibit at the museum in Toronto. It's like a virtual exhibit. I think it's a Monet exhibit.
Van Gogh, I think.
Was it Van Gogh? No, it's different now.
Okay.
It was a Van Gogh one, but now yes. I think it might be Monet.
Okay. Yep.
Anyways, I just meditated, and then I woke up from my meditation, or I got up from my meditation, and I get an email, and they're offering me free tickets to go see this exact exhibit, if I would like, and they would like me to also share it with my followers on my social media pages. And I was like, yeah, like 100%, right? And I was just saying to my friend that I want to go see this exhibit. So I can't tell you how many times that happens to me on a daily basis. It's crazy, but I'm telling you, it's because I meditate.
How can that not be the power of, power of visualization? I think of this and I got it.
Yes. And that is the power of it. And when it can happen that quickly, that's pretty insane.
That is pretty insane.
Yeah.
And how is your meditation different when you're doing your art? Okay. Mm-hmm. And you're saying that's like a meditation. It's like you're in your flow and you're doing your visualization. For you, what's the difference between those two experiences?
Okay, so when I'm in the studio and I'm painting, it just feels like the flow state. It feels like really peaceful, and it
Mhm.
feels relaxing, and it feels like those aspects of meditation. Whereas when I actually meditate, I usually do lying down meditations. Sometimes I sit, but usually I'm lying down. When I meditate, I have these moments where my body feels literally like it's floating. And in the midst of that, I'm visualizing things and I feel so connected to those visualizations, like as if it's happening
Mhm.
in front, like as if I'm there, as if it's like a dream, you know, those dreams where you just feel like it feels so real.
Yeah.
So it's like that, but more than anything in my meditations, it's like the physical feeling where my body feels like it's floating. And there's nothing like that. It's amazing. Yeah.
And what's fascinating about what you're saying is that um, your work, the flow, it's peaceful and relaxing, and
Yes.
that's your work.
That's my work. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be amazing if everybody would be doing
Oh,
work that's peaceful and relaxing?
it would be amazing. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we'd still need the people to do jobs that are a little bit more intense, you know what I mean? But I heard this quote, I think a long time ago. I think it was from Abraham Hicks, but um, you know, she was saying basically that you know something is right for you because it feels like peace. It feels like you're going downstream as opposed to upstream. And I always took that to heart. In everything that I do, it's like a question I constantly ask myself: do I feel peace right now? Like, does this
Hmm.
feel like the right thing for me? Like, does it feel like my steps are getting heavier or lighter as I move closer towards this opportunity or this decision or whatever it is that I'm doing? But yeah, I feel very fortunate that I do have a career that I can say, wow, it feels really peaceful doing this. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes it's stressful. Like I had an exhibit in Los Angeles I had to prepare for, and I was literally up all day, all night, painting so that I could finish this huge piece for this exhibit. So it's not always peaceful, but I would say the majority of the time when I'm working, it feels like I'm supposed to be there. So
Like I'm supposed to be there.
yeah.
That's pretty awesome. It's very reassuring, the
Mm,
words that you've used and the phrases, like I'm just supposed to be there. And I think for those who are watching, it's important because we often get caught up in the doing and
yeah.
we forget what the experience is actually like for ourselves.
True. Yeah, I could see that happening for many people. Yeah, just caught up in the daily to do lists, right? That we kind of forget to check in and be like, okay, is this like really where I want to be? Is this really what I want to be doing? Um, yeah, I think these are questions that we should ask ourselves every day and really check in and get clear with ourselves. And yeah, I think the world would be a better place if we all did that.
So it might sound like a strange question, but often I hear some friends saying, "Oh, I just want to retire. Wait till I retire." Do you think of retirement?
No, I
What?
don't. I don't. Like, I hope that I get to create till the day I die. Like, retirement, no. Like that, just sitting around and I mean, well, there are fun aspects to retirement, like traveling and things like that, but I want that a part of my life now. I don't want to wait until I'm 60, 70 years old to enjoy life and then just work and slave up until then. Like, no, I see my life as a vacation first and foremost. And that involves also doing what I love. I think that I can truly say that I do love what I do. And so it doesn't feel like work, number one. And I get excited when I'm creating. I get these ideas, and I don't want to lose that feeling of inspiration. Never do I want to lose that feeling. So, no, I do not want to retire.
That's that's wonderful, because it's and what you're saying is that the feelings that you have from this work that you're doing, this gift that you're sharing with other people, there's inspiration, there's this so much positive energy that shows up for you, that you're
Yeah.
actually, your life is a vacation and you're loving it.
Yeah, it feels like I'm on purpose. It feels like I have a mission, and I think those are important things that a person needs to ask themselves too, even when they're first coming out of school. It's like, well, what's important to you? Because for some people, it's not important to have really a deep purpose or a mission in life. For some people, it's, you know what, I just want to make enough money to get by and make enough money to travel and go places and have variety. Like everybody has different needs, right? But for me, I think I've always had a very strong feeling of like wanting a purpose and wanting a mission and wanting to serve the world in that way. And so I just went down that road, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the road for everybody. Um, yeah.
That's amazing. um, is there anything else that you'd like to share that's come up?
Not really. I mean, I'm working on a new body of work, which I'm really excited about. It actually involves the female form in water. And so I'm taking the whole water theme to a whole nother level. I think inviting the feminine into the picture is something that's really close to my heart, not just because I'm a female and I'm a female artist, but I think that it will allow people to also relate to water and my paintings on a whole nother level, having the human form joining in with the water. And what interests me is this connection between the feminine and water in general, like the feminine being such a powerful force, and so is water, feminine being such a healing force, and so is water, and a life-giving force, so is water, right? So there are these connections between the feminine and water that really intrigue me. And so I'm really excited to be kind of going down this new road with these new paintings. So we'll see what comes from it. You'll see it more in the new year.
Oh, cool. Is
Yeah.
there a specific culture or spiritual practice that influences you or inspires you in this place?
Um, no, I just think of it as like the world's waters is what inspires me. It's from all over. Some of the photography that is going to be inspiring some of these paintings are images that I had taken of me in Hawaii. From a friend of mine, a photographer, a really great photographer, who helped me capture some of the images. So there's definitely the essence of the Pacific Ocean in there, and the energy of Maui, Hawaii. But no, I think in general, just the aspect of water, the theme of water, and our world's waters is really what I want to focus on.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I truly appreciate this conversation. I think what you've said will inspire and touch tens of thousands of people in the next few years, as this content will be searchable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really looking forward to the painting that's going to be the one that we're going to buy from you.
Oh, I'm excited too.
So with my wife, we've said we don't want to commission one because we don't know. We want
Yeah.
we want that coming from you.
And I really appreciate you saying that, because I actually rarely accept commissions,
Mhm.
because I would prefer to create what I want to create and just sell my work. Okay. And there are times where I do accept commissions, if it's in alignment with what I'm working on already.
Mhm.
Right. But there's also some rules I have when doing commissions, that I have to have some artistic freedom and things like that. So, but I really appreciate you coming in as, a future purchaser of a painting and being like, you know what, I just want it to speak to me and I want you to just create. And I love hearing that. So thank you.
Our pleasure. So Carina, thank you very much for taking the time. We're going to put her website and all the content or all the links available for her. And if you want to get in touch with Carina, at the bottom of the video, and you'll also get a chance to reach out to her directly. Again, if there's anyone who wants to reach out to her, they can, right? With your email address, which we'll put up there at the bottom. And your paintings are always for sale as long as you have one. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And she doesn't really want to do commissions, but if you really want a commission, remember, she's in charge.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's uplifting. You're one of our inspirational stories, and I think that your story is going to inspire people to trust more in their own intuition and following their purpose.
I really hope so, Stephen. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. If you would like to watch more videos like this, then please subscribe to my channel below. Once again, my name is Stephen Dobos, and you can download a free centering exercise. The information is in the description box below.